800 million or something like that.
I
I never wanted to be
I
so
said
wrong.
850, 900.
Yeah,
So,
so I never
and
wanted
it
to be
might
so
stop
wrong in my
around
life.
900 because I forgot March got some
Well,
big
yeah,
months.
things only slow down. They don't really pick up that far
Yeah,
down the
yeah.
road.
So
Um, but other than that, I mean, I hope I want. I never want to be so wrong about it. You know what I mean? Like I want it to make money more than it already has. All right. Well, welcome to episode 13 of the Film Planet podcast. I'm your host Nadal, joined as always with our other host.
uh,
And today we're going to be breaking down really two things, just a couple other things added in there, just kind of industry talk in general. But we're going to be breaking down our thoughts on Annihilation and the Mute movie. So both two sci-fi movies, two very different kind of sci-fi movies. One's a Netflix release and one's half of a Netflix release, but more theatrical here in the States. So let's get right into it. We're going to go ahead and start with Mute. As always, Jamal, what was your hot take on it? Didn't like it. It was meh.
the story was all over the place. It was like three movies taking place into one.
Yeah.
So
It, go
yeah.
ahead.
So that's how I look at it. I get in more details. I want to hear your take, but I get in more details in them.
Mine was it's kind of similar. It was definitely enjoyed it. I think I knew I was gonna enjoy it going in, but it was trying to be like it didn't have a clear direction. Like it tried to be like this noir, sci-fi noir movie mixed with a little bit of Blade Runner.
Well,
But the
Blade Runner is noir.
one time about, but like it's his own Duncan Jones' own visual take, not visual, but own take on it. But it was all halfway. It never fully embraced any one thing. It went halfway here, halfway there, and when you do stuff like that, then your story starts getting split. Or not even your story, just then it becomes hard to follow and get invested in the world when you don't really know where that world's trying to take you directional wise.
Right.
And it did that a lot. Now the story wasn't the greatest in the world. I mean, it's essentially just like a love story. And it had its darker moments obviously in it, but it just like I said, you never really felt invested in that story. And then there were certain characters kind of peppered in there. You're like, why are they there? Are they contributing anything? A lot of it was left to your imagination on why there's a background with certain characters. And obviously, you're not going to leave a movie to fill out every little single thing. There's always going to be those question marks no matter what. But it just in a movie that was didn't really have a clear direction, those question marks start to stand out more than they should.
Right.
And that's what I absolutely enjoyed not Annihilation, Mute, but it felt lackluster and what it should have been presenting. I will say this: Justin Theroux's character and Paul Rudd. It was because you're basically following two different stories. You're following Leo's character, and then you're following those two characters.
Skarsgård.
Yeah, and they both. It was totally two different characters. It felt like two different worlds that they were existing in, but they were clashing with each other in the same world. The story was kind of fighting itself, and it took way too long, in my opinion, to even get started with the story it was trying to tell. It kind of drug out a little bit, and then you realized, oh, they're connected in a way.
It just seemed like to me they wanted to be like, this is his story, his story. Oh, we got to intertwine it somehow, and voila. So,
and the female was the intertwined, and like I said, this is a spoiler review, but and they're the daughter
you ain't missing nothing.
Yeah, you're not missing nothing. Plus, it's Netflix; you can watch it on your time. So but no, it's just it feels like the delay and stuff that happened in that movie did not benefit at all. Like it felt like it if anything, it hurt it more than it benefited it.
Right, it was boring to me. I'm gonna be real, like, and I like Duncan Jones as a director.
Yeah.
Like, even Warcraft, which got a bad rap, I defended that movie, and I thought it was a decent fantasy flick. But I gotta be real, bro. I didn't enjoy this movie at all. I wasn't even entertained by it. I mean, it was like They wanted to make Paul Rudd a sympathetic character. At one point, his best friend, who's a child molester, so
Putting it
pedophile,
mildly.
yeah, putting it mildly, he attacks and stuff, and you're like, oh, this is a cool guy, and next thing you know, he's out kicking it with him. I know they wanted to show the complexity of Paul Rudd's character, and he did a good job, but everything else was simple at that point.
Yeah.
So
it's one of those things where if it wasn't those two characters there, what was really accomplished story wise? That makes like, they're clearly those are the two bad guys of the movie, and they try to make you have a split decision on who you liked more, Paul Rudd or Justin Theroux's character. Obviously, child molester. It's a clear cut case of who you're gonna hate more. But it felt so a lot of, just like I said, it was a lot of halfways. No fully, investing in any one direction. And I felt like it should have. If it had a clear direction, you probably would have had a better overall story arc in it. But it was just a bunch of halfways that never really went. None of them went anywhere. A bunch of roads that split that never went anywhere.
Yeah, why should we care about this love? They didn't even make us show why we should care about Leo and Paul Rudd's ex-wife. It happened to be.
It's and they wanted to make you care about it because it was the daughter there, but then you never really saw the daughter. The daughter didn't really ever speak. It was just kind of, like I said, it's all half. It's like you're going halfway to a restaurant, then you realize, nah, I'm not really that hungry. You just turn back around and leave. But it feels like you've been on this long journey to that restaurant, but you never actually got there. That's a weird comparison, but that's the best way I can really explain it. Is a lot of halfways, a lot of potential, but potential doesn't make a good movie.
No, it doesn't.
So, but overall, I mean, I enjoyed it just because I like sci-fi settings. I'm a fan of Duncan Jones. I was a little biased going in, but my expectations might have been too high.
But it was on your most anticipated.
Yeah, it was tied for number 7 on there. But I mean, if I were to put a number on it overall, I would give it, like a solid 5.5 out of 10.
Me? 3.
3. But yeah, man, if you're into sci-fi, if you're a fan of Duncan Jones, if you watched his previous work like Moon, for example, because these exist in the same world, watch it. It's on Netflix. If you already have a Netflix subscription, you're not really losing anything. Give it a watch.
I will say this: him versus a lot of directors, even when it's flawed. I mean, it's nice to look at.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, visually it's cool, but like I just found the story. I just couldn't get invested in the story.
Yeah.
Like
the world was visually, it was nice to look at. It was, the world was well realized. But like the point Jamal's trying to make is that only gets you so far in a movie, especially when it's about 2 hours runtime.
Yeah.
It's nice to look at for 2 hours, but if you're not really invested in it, you're really just kind of looking at it. You're not really paying attention to what's going on, but there's not much to pay attention to.
Style over substance.
Yeah, style over substance. Yep. But I mean, that's it from Mute. If you have Netflix, go watch it. It's not gonna hurt you to watch it. It's not a big ordeal to go out and watch it like the theater. So just give it a watch if you want. If not, you're not missing anything skipping on this one.
And it goes back to my last podcast, Netflix. It seemed like they just throwing everything at the wall, but y'all can go watch a preview for that.
Yeah, but I mean, it's kind of like Hollywood in the respect though, is they are definitely throwing stuff at the wall, but they have a lot of movies that people don't hype up. Like, not Bright, but What Happened to Sunday was a really good sci-fi drama movie. Stuff like that. Spectre was a really good movie.
Yeah.
But they also weren't really, they were very kind of, they released behind the doors. No one really knew about them. And those are really good, solid sci-fi flicks that I think people would thoroughly enjoy. And it's kind of similar. Hollywood has that big marketing behind them. And if you ever get a chance to watch What Happened to Sunday and Spectre, the actors in there are not that big, so you could see why it might not have been marketed as heavy as a Bright with Will Smith, or Mute with Paul Rudd, Duncan Jones involved, stuff like that. But he's right though. They do throw a lot at the wall, but I can't think of any company that doesn't throw a lot at the wall, and they kind of stick
but there's
to what
no
sticks.
producer executive producer to filter a lot of this out. That's the advantage that theaters have. Even if a movie is good but confusing, like the next one we're going to get into, the producer understood that, okay, this might put audiences off. And I think Netflix is missing that component. But he's right. What happened Sunday, that's good.
Yeah.
But
I mean, a long story short, I'm just saying is what Hollywood has the advantage of is when they find something that works, they're able to invest a lot more money into it to make it work even more. Whereas Netflix is, unless it's a big name tied to it, they're not going to try and do too much with it.
right.
Period. Like they're just kind of okay. That's it. It happened. But our next movie is one that was also on my top 10. I think was it on your top 10?
Mm-mm.
Oh yeah, it was my number 2 on my top 10. Was Annihilation, and like I always like to do, because I know you said you had some, some well, not thoughts, but you had some statements
Well,
to
what
make.
you want to think first, because you seem disappointed.
Not disappointed, but more of like confusion. But I think that was meant to happen almost. I was supposed to be questioning it leaving the theater. Now that I've sat on it a little bit more, it was a great movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Slow burn, which I don't mind slow burns at
You
all.
can't say you thoroughly enjoyed it, but you leaving the movie disappointed.
I didn't say I
You
was
can't.
disappointed. I said it left me confused and I was kind of
But you
questioning
said
something.
so.
I said I thought about it so. I said I need to sit on it some more
But
and
what?
think about
Okay,
it.
now that you said on it, what you think?
No, I thought it was a great movie.
But
Oh,
what you think the theme of the movie
that's
was?
what I'm saying. I'm trying to get to that. Yeah,
Okay.
is that it had you questioning, humanity as in general, and what it. I don't really know how to explain it. It made you question humanity in general on what it meant to approach certain things. I don't know how to explain it at all. To be honest with you.
It's,
It made you it is how do I really don't know how to say it, like how we view people who are crazy or something like that. It left a lot of question marks for me that I'm still kind of sitting on, but it didn't really grab me. But overall, I enjoyed. It was a fun movie to kind of sit back and kind of pick apart what I thought I could pick apart, but I didn't really get anything from it. I enjoyed it visually and enjoyed the slow burn of it, but that was it.
here's what the movie's about. Uh, it was very effective made. You had to really pay attention. It's one of those movies. I see why the executive producer said it might be too intellectual for theaters, because nobody wants to go into a movie having to do tedious work. And I'm not. A lot of people are proclaiming this movie to be a sci-fi masterpiece. It's very well made, very effective, but I don't think it's sci-fi masterpiece. But it is really good. Um, the whole theme of the movie was cancer. The whole basis of the movie. That's why she was talking about cell. It's a scene in the movie where the lead character, she's talking about cell generation, and her husband goes missing. So before they go on this expedition into this place called the Shimmer, before they go into this expedition, the lead doctor says, well, his thing is continue to grow. We need to find a cure. Days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months. Then after that, it spreads. That's what cancer does. When they go into the Shimmer, it's a mutation. Cancer mutates your cells. It mutates your blood cells and things. So as they went into the Shimmer, it was different mutations, like a crocodile with extra teeth. But the deeper they went into the Shimmer, the crazier the mutations became.
Yeah.
That's cancer. It had a lot of good imagery that you don't catch. Actually, me spoiling some of it will actually make y'all go see the movie. There's a scene at the beginning of the movie. Her husband comes back from this area, from the Shimmer. He's sick, but they don't know yet. He walks into the house and he looks at a picture of him and his wife, then go in. Later on in the movie, when they go in the Shimmer, it looks worn down and rough, but it's actually the same house, and his wife looks at the same picture. So it's showing that cancer cells mimic other cells, and they eventually eat them up. And she was talking about immortality. You know, there was a scene where they was laying in the bed and they were talking about immortality, and she was like, you know, aging is a flaw in our genes. So obviously her goal was to find cancer. Find her goal was to find the source of cancer. And each character in the movie, because there's a scene when they first go on the expedition, you're like, why are these scientists and medics, professionals, going into a place with no mask?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the first thing I said when I seen the movie. But as the movie went along, I got the context of the movie. There's no cure for cancer, so there's no preparation for it. So these professionals, they're all scientists, medics, EMTs. It was symbolic of them going into something they really had no answer for.
Yeah, these people weren't military at all. Like one of the not what's the first one that kind of got snatched up and died.
Yes,
She was a police officer.
mm-hmm.
She was a police officer with some medical training. One was an EMT. Obviously, our
Biologist,
biologist,
physicist.
yeah, physicist, biologist, and then a psychiatrist was the last one. Um, so these weren't military people. It was clear they stated obviously in the story that they had sent multiple military units in and yielded no results. So obviously this was a let's switch to a more
Right.
scientific approach. But no, it was interesting. And then the other thing I think was the physicist that said it, Tessa Thompson's character, is she said the way the shimmer works is nothing really gets out. So their DNA is, like you said, mimics. It's bouncing off the walls and coming back, and they're bouncing off one. It's refracting, yeah. And that's why you get a lot of the weird mutations that do happen on there, and you end up getting those mixed, like the alligator that had shark teeth in it as well, and then the DNA of that first chick dying by the bear got somehow introduced into the bear. When the bear would open its mouth, you could hear her suffering and dying.
Right.
Like her last moments were repeating.
Right.
In a loop with inside the bear, essentially. And but it also became part of the bear's hunting.
Yes.
Is it used the human voice to get you to think something was in trouble, and snatch you up. Uh, then there was something you said right after the theater. I think I stopped you from saying it because we wanted to keep it for the podcast. You said you had something that you wanted to state about it, or I don't know if it was about the movie. It was a question that you had that came off of the movie.
No, that's what it was. The overall theme is cancer.
Yeah, okay.
It was talking literal. It was metaphor and literal cancer, and it was metaphor and figurative cancer. Because in the movie, she cheated on her husband,
Yeah.
which caused a cancer in relationship. And on the side, her husband was military, so he was gone for a long time, which also caused a cancer in relationship because y'all not really spending any time together because he was gone for expeditions. And then each character. These women on the expedition, each one all fell victim to the cancer in different ways.
Yeah,
because everybody's, all these people who gain cancer, they fight off different ways.
Yeah,
the woman who had cancer, actually in the movie, not a metaphor, she wanted to cure it. The person in the movie who had it was a Gina Rodriguez character. She tried to fight off the cancer.
Yeah.
So she was trying to fight it. Then
she had a physical approach to it.
Tessa Thompson's character, who he just mentioned, the physicist, she was already suicidal.
Mm-hmm.
All these women were broken. She was already suicidal. So she kind of just gave in to the cancer. So it kind of shows how people react differently to the cancer. Natalie Portman, now towards the end of the movie, they go to this lighthouse. The lighthouse is symbolic of a tumor, the cancer tumor. And then the creature of the shimmer, the creator of the shimmer, it looks like a cell. The creature looks like a cell. And then it attacks Natalie Portman by mimicking her movement.
Yeah.
And it's not really attacking her. It's mimicking her movements. That's what cancer cells do to other cells.
Yep.
So eventually, what happens in the movie at the end, she's telling the story. She survives. The reason I squinch my fingers is the cancer cells mimic. So is it actually her telling the story? Because throughout the story, she's proven to be a liar. She cheats on her husband. Gina Rodriguez questioned her. She says, we didn't, she ties him up and say, we didn't see our friend get killed by this bear that Nadal mentioned. Is this really happening? So the whole basis of the movie is it really Natalie Portman or is the cancer cell Annihilation?
Yeah.
Alien invasion, and they mix the alien invasion with how cancer affects people. That was brilliant writing.
Yeah.
So, and I know a lot of people didn't catch that, but yeah.
And then something else I noticed was the tattoo that she had on her hand, the 8 or the infinity symbol. From the beginning you didn't see that, but you could see an outline of it as if she used to have a tattoo and it got removed.
Yeah.
But when she's being questioned, the tattoo was clearly visible, like it was just put on.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing with her husband. He had the tattoo on his.
And Gina Rodriguez had it too when she started getting affected.
And that was a hint. If you watch if you watch the tattoo, like I said, at the beginning of the story, it looked like it had been removed, with laser therapy and stuff like that, got it removed. But when she was being questioned in there, the tattoo was clearly visible. So the genes might have mimicked a tattoo that was still technically there, but not visually being able to be seen because it's been removed from the surface of her skin.
But the tattoo is also symbolic of they're infected.
Yeah. But it was, I like I said, I liked it. It makes you think. If it doesn't make you think, then you probably weren't really trying to. If that makes, like, you weren't really trying in the movie. And like you said, their executive producers distinctively sold the rights to it internationally to stream on Netflix because he was scared that it might be too intellectual for audiences. If that makes sense. And then there was some offhand question that people didn't like Natalie Portman's character, but I don't know where that came from. That's the quote I read when I was reading about that.
They're all broken.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But no, they specifically used her character for a reason of selling it to Netflix. But I didn't. It's a business that I don't understand that too much. But no, overall, I liked it. If you were to put a number on it, what would you put on there?
I'd give it a 7.9.
7.9. I'd give it about 7.5. And then you mentioned what is it? No, that was pretty much it, really.
Yeah.
We just had those 2 reviews. I mean, there's nothing really happening other than the lack of marketing for certain movies, but
we'll get into that.
We'll get into that next week.
Next week it's Red Sparrow actually, and Death Wish. Then the week after it's the movies talking about.
Yeah, but I mean, other than that was this week's episode. Shorter one because there wasn't too much in it, just the 2 movie reviews that we saw.
And like you said, Annihilation be on Netflix March 9th, so go check it out.
Well, no, international, not the U.S.
Oh, so it's still only international. Well, this is a movie you should wait on Netflix. Yeah, but it's definitely very well written. Now the direction, it could have been a lot more effective, but it's definitely very well written. And them little hints, you'll even catch hints I probably don't catch. So.
Well, yeah, no, this was his second directorial debut because it was Ex Machina before.
Fantastic. Ex Machina is a classic. Now that's a classic. So yeah.
But no, go check it out. Obviously, if you're in international markets watching the podcast, it'll be available for you guys to stream soon. If you're here in the U.S., Canada, or China, where it's being released in the movie theaters, go check it out. It's definitely worth it. Slow burn, but if you're into sci-fi, I think that slow burn is easy to ignore and kind of lose yourself in the movie, But other than that was this week's podcast. You got anything else you wanted to? Like, comment, share, subscribe, and peace.